like what is it about the strength side way, that internally driven fitness, that can really help us become more in tune with our minds and help us just become more mentally healthy? I know that was long-winded, but I just wanted to set up this part of the, conversation.
Yeah, no, that was a great segue, I think. Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is that, or I guess like my main belief is that like living in the mind, in overthinking and these things that usually can lead to more like anxious feelings or even like depressed feelings. I think like way to the best way to just combat that, or really just to dance with that, is to move. Like we have to get more embodied, right? And that's not to say that like if you move all day long then you'll have no problems.
Yes.
But I think it will move you in a better direction. There's a reason why people love yoga, and it's because you're doing like two things. You're moving your body, you're stretching your joints, you're using strength, and you're also connecting to your breath. And that feels really, really good. And you feel really, really present. Right. And I think that when you're doing more of this traditional fitness route, it's easy to keep in the mind while you're doing the fitness stuff. Yes. Right. Yeah. Like you're running on the treadmill, but you're like watching TV, and really you're just like thinking a bunch, and you're like lifting these weights, but you're just like you're not like feeling what's actually going on here, and you're not like super connected to the breath. Maybe you are, but that's kind of like the goal of a lot of our strength side work is, sometimes it's not about like, hey, here's the best stretch, or here's the way that you can get the strongest. It's just about like, hey, let's drop everything from the day and let's just like drop into our bodies and like move in some ways that are very natural for a human body to move. And then like, let's connect to our breath and let's just see how that feels. And feels pretty damn good.
Right. It does. Right. It's beautiful what you said, going from I think they call it like the attic of the mind into like the rose garden of the body. Right. It's just going from top to bottom. And I bet other people work out at different times, but I like to do strength side work really in the morning, right? Because it's almost like our mind turns on like automatically. And if you're not intentional about going from here to here in the beginning of your day, I think it could be really easy to just stay up here the whole time, right? So I love what you said, right? Going from here to here is what about strength side helps us, dance with that part of being a human, which is your mind. Right. And so, one of your videos goes through your morning routine where you were reading the book, The Untethered Soul. I think this is a little while ago. But you talk about this idea that's central to meditation, right? Is that we are not our thoughts. And so could you expand on that for our listeners, right? Who may have never heard about this before, may never have done meditation, like just this critical idea.
Yeah. And I mean, like caveat, I was reading from the book, so it's not like my
yes,
it's not like I made this up, but it has like been very beneficial for me to like to learn this stuff and to think this way. And yeah, it's it's like, as best as I can understand it for myself, like it's this concept of the things that are happening around you and the things that are happening in reaction to what's happening around you in your mind are not necessarily you, right? They can just be a product of environment and your past and anything. And if you can, for me, if I can start to get in a place where I understand that and I feel that, then you can get behind the mind just a little bit, right? And you can kind of be like this observer. And this is just like very foundational to most types of meditation, right? Is just like observing what comes up And I think a big one is like slowing down the reaction time. And yeah, a lot of the time that can happen through breath and reflection and just being quiet. Man, it's making me want to meditate, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like, after this pod, I just got to go sit down. I love it. Yeah, I think, right, like you tap in, what you just said is that, and this sounds like woo woo and everything if you've never done it, but if you really take the time to sit down, like you see that, I think you would agree, like we are that awareness, right, of being able to step back from that mind. We're not all that stuff going on, but we're the awareness. I think meditation can kind of help you tap into that over time. And I've been doing it for like 5 years. It's taken a lot of time to really
Yeah.
like, you know, get that really internalized. Like you can know it intellectually, but
Right.
like how would you describe your meditation practice and like how it's evolved over time and how it's benefited your life? If you had to, it's a tough thing to talk about as opposed to just experience, but
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear yours as well, because
Mhm.
that's a good amount of time that you've put into this, and that's always like very nice to hear reflections from someone who's put in that amount of time. But for me, like it changes up quite a bit. Like I've had times where I got into Joe Dispenza's work for a little while, and I was doing like 45-minute meditations every morning,
Wow.
um, and it was great. That felt really really good. I would say like I have I have I usually like to just sit down for about 10 minutes and get some space, and like kind of the same as we're talking about movement. Try to like incorporate that meditation more throughout my day rather than like having it to have to be in this like big chunk of like 20 minutes or 40 minutes or something like that. But rather like I'm starting to think of meditation as just simply like stillness and even reflection, right? Uh, like I consider sometimes like my journaling practices meditation, because I'm
Mhm.
just like taking the time to like see my thoughts and see what's coming up for the day. And yeah, I think that anything that involves, for me, like anything that involves like being still or reflecting is just so powerful. And it's definitely the harder thing for me to do, because I'm like most people, I'm like, well, if I want to get a result, if I want to get better, then I need to take action. I need to like do
Yes.
more things, right? And then like sometimes it's just like the removing of things that really has the biggest effect on your life.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, I think like for me, the way I would talk about my meditation experience would be, yeah, like first off, it was really tough. Like for those 4 years, I started freshman year of college or senior year of high school, and then it was a little bit
Wow.
inconsistent in college, right? Because I had so much going on. But I
Sure.
think another reason why it was tough is that when you first start to meditate, all those things that were previously underneath the surface, they start to come up and you really start to see what's
Mm.
going on in your mind. And that could be
Mhm.
really disconcerting. So like I wanted to mention that once when you asked, like, what has my experience been like? I think first it was tough, right? And I think this is
Mm.
common for a lot of people, is that when you really start to see, like it's the awareness, like you said, it's not, we're not tangled up in all the thoughts and emotions, you're like behind it. And it's disconcerting. So it took me like 4 years to really like want to do it consistently, because that's like not, the most enjoyable thing in the beginning, right? Because we think
Yeah.
about meditation of, I'm doing this to feel really still and calm and everything. And that's really not what happens in the beginning, I think,
Uh-huh.
for most people.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was number one. And then number two is what you said was beautiful, is I think in this last year, I've seen that, you know, it's most effective when it's not segmented to those 10 minutes of your day, which is where they talk about meditation as like a pool of water, maybe in 10 minutes. But
Mm.
then if you let it expand into your day, it's
Mm.
like a river, and then it's like an ocean of like awareness throughout your whole day. And I think that's when you really get the benefit, right? So,
Yes.
I'm super passionate about this stuff, but that's been my experience.
Yeah. I completely agree. I really like that. Yeah. So you studied psych in college,
Yep.
and is that what got you into meditation?
No, actually, so it was like my mom recommended that I try it before basketball games, like my senior year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that was sort of my segue into it. Again, sort of like for for an external goal of like, oh, I want to be, the
Right.
best performer I can be, which is it's a real benefit of meditation, but I think it's more of an offshoot as opposed to like what should be your real goal.
Right.
And then that's like I started to keep doing it in college, and then in this gap year I really picked it up more. But
Nice.
yeah.
I've had a similar experience to you in using like visualization and affirmations and in these types of things to like bring into my life what I'd like to bring in. And I think like all those modalities are very, very powerful. And it's like, I don't think we fully grasp like the power of our thoughts, and the power of like shifting your thinking to support more of like what you're going after. And yeah, but also like I feel like I think like what you kind of also summed up is that is like not necessarily meditation either. Like that's kind of like going after something with a goal in mind, whereas like, if you go too heavily into that, you're moving actually to the opposite end of the spectrum, where like meditation is kind of like, hey, like let's just be okay with everything that we have in our life right now, everything like in this present moment, what's going on. So I think like a healthy balance of those is really effective.
And I think the beautiful thing about it, Josh, is that it really is, and this brings a full circle to strength side and how it's all interconnected, right? We talked in the beginning about how having that internally focused mindset and letting go of the external results can really get you what you want fitness wise, like physically. And same thing with meditation, right? Like not sitting down thinking like I need to be relaxed and have a certain state of mind after this, because really that just creates more like chatter in your mind and more constraints on it, right? And it's
Yes.
this idea of letting go, right? So basically I just want to sum it up as strength side is really just incorporating all these things at once, and they're mutually beneficial and kind of feed into each other, right? So working on your physical practice in that way can really feed into your mental practice. So I think there's few things in life more important than that, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.